I have a lot of questions, but I feel like you only ever have one answer.
It's boring, isn't it? But we're good at adapting it.
For sure.
Once you get just a few simple things, you're an extension of source energy, and you get to choose what you want. And when you do, everything that has power flows with you toward what you want. And it's only when you diverge from your own desire that things go wonky.
Right.
You want your money back, don't you?
I understand that my inner being never looks backward. However, did I choose to have a life of immense abuse as a child and to have my dearest friends return to non-physical energy at a very early age? Was that a conscious choice, trying to hit the ground running?
So just paddle with us here for a little bit. Let's just find an easy way to step into this. When we first met Jerry and Esther, he had thousands of questions like that. In fact, those exact questions he had. And we'd say, well, that's not your work. And he'd say, well, what about this? If he saw any abuse or any wrongdoing or any meanness or anything that reminded him of anything, what about that? And we'd say, well, that's not your work. Well, and on and on and on. Finally, he said, what is my work? And the reason that we start there is because when you talk about the others around you who took off early and so forth, that really isn't your work. It wasn't part of your work coming in. In other words, everyone has their own point of attraction. So, can you remember the precise words that you put to us about, did I choose?
Yeah.
We don't want this to feel like a screwy answer. No, you didn't choose to be abused. But you chose contrast, and you chose exposure to experience. And you said, I know that words don't teach. And you said, I want my desire to formulate and sharpen in me early on. When you stand in this place, before you came into this physical body, of absolute knowing and well-being and what humans would want to call security, you're not talking about what you don't want. You didn't say, don't give that to me. You weren't talking about what you didn't want. What we were talking about is what you did want. And what you wanted was clarity and exposure to experience and strong feelings and emotions that were strong enough that they couldn't be misunderstood. You wanted an early exposure to your emotional guidance system. You wanted to be someone who decided early on to follow your own way, because you discovered early on that those people who are supposed to be entrusted with your well-being can't be. Not always. That's 100% of the time true. Esther had the opposite experience that Jerry did. She was born into a home of love. She never even heard harsh words offered between her parents to each other. They weren't critical of each other or of anyone else either. Esther just sort of grew up in this harmonic little place. She had to pick her own fights, and she did. She did. She picked enough of her own fights and made herself feel terrible. Do you know, when you feel bad, you feel bad. You don't have a really large capacity to feel bad. Feeling bad feels really bad when who you are feels really good. Did that give you any platform to bounce from?
I think so. I think for me, a lot of my deepest pain reveals my clearest revelations. So like without the contrast, I can't have the expansion of my inner being. And I'm a songwriter, so I create, but I don't feel like I create. I feel like I channel you. Or...
You do. It does reveal that strongest pain, does reveal the strongest desires, but revealing it and being focused upon it are two different things. Sometimes people think, well, if I can just expose it and reveal it and get it out in the light, then I'm done. And we say, no, you're just getting started. Because once you've identified that, get off of it. In other words, your life has brought you through it. Don't keep going back to it.
Just take the hit, pivot as soon as possible?
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
And in time...
It's taken me a couple decades, but I'm doing my best.
Well, some never get there. Jerry left this physical realm 12 years ago. And that's a long damn time. But Esther can still open that drawer and make herself cry. She can deliberately go there and deliberately find something that takes her into a place that does not feel good. Or she could go in the other room and talk to Jerry. She can experience the absence of him or the presence of him. We don't want to be harsh on anyone. We just want to say to you, sometimes the momentum of something is so intense that you can't do other than feel bad. And we say, go with that. Don't try to fight that. Don't try to fight that. Go with the flow of that. That's the path of least resistance when it's happening strong like that. But we promise you that when you are deliberately going with the flow of something, even if it feels really bad, but your intention is to go with the flow of it, just in going with the flow of it, it will lift up off of you. Because your true going with the flow is going with the flow of your inner being, who will take you in the direction of who you really are. But don't fight the pain. Don't try to pretend that something awful isn't awful. Don't eat ground glass and try to like it. Let the contrast serve you. This makes us want to tell you something that we've been talking about just recently, and it's about the momentum of your thought. You know how you'll say, well, I believe this or I believe that. Your beliefs are thoughts that you continue to think. And the reason you continue to think them is because you continue to keep them active, and so the law of attraction continues to support them. That's why you believe them. You're not stupid people believing stupid things. Not mostly. Not at all. You are people who are focused, and the law of attraction is continuing to perpetuate for you in the form of real life experiences in response to where you're focused. And so it's not the easiest thing in the world to hear someone say, but you could change that focus and attract differently, especially when you're really in a mode, when there's a strong wind blowing that's taking you in the direction of something that you don't want. So in a reasonable attempt at helping our friends understand this point of attraction thing, for a while we talked about, it's like each of you holds a bag of marbles, and not all of them are active, but the active ones equal your now point of attraction, and that's what's coming to you. And you're meeting up with other people who also have bags of marbles, and the law of attraction is matching your marbles up. You don't match up with anybody completely, but you didn't really take to that in the way we can see it. We presented the concept of attraction to Esther, and she's reaching for analogies that maybe will resonate with you. And so now we've expanded that to say, in any moment in time, and it could change many times during the day depending on what you're focused upon, but you have a bandwidth of attraction that doesn't have very much variance in it. So when you're feeling really strong about something, the law of attraction won't bring you thoughts. Oh, it'll bring you thoughts on this edge and on this edge, but they're pretty much the same feeling thoughts. And so on that emotional guidance scale, did you get one when you came in? It's on the back side. On that emotional guidance scale, your bandwidth is really from 20 to 21, or from 21 to 20, or from 20 to 19, or from 19. In other words, 19 could go that away or that away. Your bandwidth isn't very far.
Like all the time?
All the time, because law of attraction is precise. Are you kidding?
Because I meditate every day. I feel incredibly euphoric and uplifted and ethereal throughout a lot of my day. Yeah.
We're not saying that you cannot move from there up to there. We're just saying in any moment in time, it's your focus that takes that differently. And if you're beating the drum of something in a really strong way, like is logical to do when something really unwanted is really in your face. But you don't have to do that with past thoughts, with past experiences so much. You could let them go. You could move far past those pretty fast. When we said, are you kidding? What we meant by that is your radio dial tells you that. It's precise. Your radio dial is precise. It doesn't give you that or that. It gives you that. Oh, come on. Give me a little bit that's on the channel next door. Transmitter, receiver, locked in on the same thing. And that's what the law of attraction does. Law of attraction recognizes the transmitter and recognizes the receiver, and you get pretty much locked in. You have to decide to focus. You can focus differently, but you have to decide to focus differently, and then you have to decide often enough to focus differently that it becomes your new habit of thought, and then you can move, till a person can move from having been beat up every day to feeling well-being every day. A person can move from abject poverty to more money than you have any sensible use for. In other words, there's nothing that dictates what you let in other than your bandwidth, which you are in control of. And so it's helpful to call it an emotional bandwidth, because vibrations are hard to measure unless you're a contraption that's a receiver or something.